The entertainment industry and the Hollywood intelligentsia is looking for any excuse in the world they can use to defend the Marvels and the MCU. It's not because they have a love affair with Kevin Feige, but rather it's because the Marvels did what they said every movie should. And yet it is sitting down at the bottom of the floor. It can't get up. It's fallen, and it can't get up. If you watched the video from this morning, you know that not even women went and supported this film. They were in the minority of moviegoers, and that means that men did everything they could to save it. We just could not. Folks, we're here to share with you the level of copium that is going on all over the web as they try to find and cannot find a narrative that will explain it away and make their ideology reign supreme once more. This is going to be fun. Hello folks, welcome back to the channel where we are changing pop culture one video at a time. And you are the electricity that makes it so. Thank you for being here with us. And we have Derek, the DA, here as well as we go through the pharmacy of copium and find out exactly how it is they're handling this failure that is the Marvels. Derek, welcome back to the channel.
Thanks for having me back, Pro. Appreciate it. And yeah, lots of copium going on out there. I mean, these guys are desperate for answers, and they've been getting them from us this entire time. And maybe they should start tuning in to W Pro and the DA to get some of the answers to their questions.
Well, you know, we like to think that we're on the ball, and part of that is that we're not trying to articulate an artificial narrative, but actually, we're trying to see what's going on the ground and then relay reality as it is. That's not the way that the mainstream works, though, as they continue to relay the corporate-approved narrative, because they are the corporate institutions. Folks, if you are ready for a fun time, Derek could not have joined for a better one. You're going to laugh. You're going to cry. You may have to pull over if you're driving because of how funny this is going to be. They're not handling this well. Let's just say that, and we'll dive straight in. Why are they not handling it well? This out of Exhibitor Relations Company. Rival studios have the Marvel debuting with $45 million this weekend. Your move, Disney. In other words, the official number that Disney gave is actually not what the other studios believe it actually made. People think that the Marvels did worse than what Disney says. Well, it's plenty bad, though. Either way, let's take a look out of the Hollywood Reporter. This by Patrick Bresky. China box office, the Marvels bombs as superhero fatigue deepens. So, Derek, the excuse that they are trying, and I don't think it's going to work, is superhero fatigue. Let's see what they say. The Marvels' disappointing start at the North American box office over the weekend, $47 million, is adding to analyst concerns. Don't you love it? Is adding to analyst concerns that superhero fatigue is an urgent and growing problem for the major studios. Unless, of course, it's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 or Spider-Man No Way Home, or, well, we could keep going with films that have done very well. Derek, do you think that superhero fatigue is what has wiped out those poor Marvels?
No, that's an excuse. They've been using that excuse for a while now to maybe get ready for some of the box office bombs that were coming down the pipe for these studios. But no, it's not superhero fatigue. It's bad movie fatigue. People are tired of going to films that, you know, much like the Marvels, don't seem to have any real meaning, are not leading anywhere. And overall, I think there is a lot of superhero content that's being made, but it's all bad. And
bad
if you
movie
continue
fatigue.
to crank out bad content, not only on Disney Plus and not only on your streaming services, but then in the theaters, it gets real easy to just kind of ignore the majority of it. And people want good content. That's what people are paying money for. Things are at a premium right now when you're talking about entertainment and how much it costs to have a streaming service or go to the films and the movies. It's costing a lot of money, and people want to get their money's worth. So yeah, we're not going to keep shelling money out when, you know, the product just isn't good. Like, how often do you do that in other walks of your life? Do you continue to pay, you know, more for, you know, let's say your gardener outside that's not cutting the lawn? No, you say, hey, you're not cutting the lawn anymore. I'm going to find a new gardener and I'm going to pay that guy. And so good money is going where the entertainment is. You know, you see Oppenheimer doing very well. You see Barbie doing very well. And you mentioned it. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 had great legs because it's a good movie. And as long as the movie is good, people will show up, people will tune in, people will check you out. But when the content is bad, yeah, it's going to get real easy to just, kind of tune out all the superhero content. Maybe what's really happening is people are being more discerning with their, superhero content. They'll watch trailers, they'll read up on the information and see, okay, is this something that's going to appeal to me before I plunk down my, $20 to go and watch this film? Oh, it's not. No, I don't think I'm going to be interested in this film. Okay, I won't go. So again, it's all about bad movie fatigue. People are tired of it. I think people are tired of these giant franchises with all of these shows and movies that don't really lead anywhere. I'm not even sure the story that's being told right now in this multiverse saga for Marvel. I don't know what story they're trying to tell. I'm still scratching my head trying to figure that out. So yeah, I think that's the main reason, is that a lot of this content is just bad. It's not worth paying attention to. And yeah, they can scream superhero fatigue all they want to, but this can happen in any genre, in any franchise. You see the same thing with Star Wars.
Derek, the mainstream and the access media, the ideologues, the corporatists, they tell us, of course, that it's superhero fatigue. It's funny to me that just not long ago, they were telling us that it was Star Wars fatigue. It turns out that they will drive any franchise into the ground, and rather than admitting that they need to stop and switch up the course and give the fans what they want, they would rather these things die and call it fatigue. They would rather they go the way of Westerns than to give in and admit, oh, wait, it's this direction. They want to say there's ice cream fatigue when they keep putting nastiness in the ice cream. They don't want to say, well, maybe we should go back to vanilla and chocolate and strawberry. Right. Maybe, maybe the cat food flavor is not working so much. But that's all we're getting is cat food out of the MCU. But Derek, are you ready for the highest dosage of copium you have ever seen?
I am ready. Let's get it.
Prepare yourself, sir. Never has it been seen in such a light. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say before we get started into this that we do not pick on smaller channels, and we very seldomly get into the meta narratives out there and talk about other content creators or discussions that are being had. We've had to break that today, both in relaying that Grace Randolph has now accepted the she, you as being a problem. And now what I have to do with is a smaller channel that has put out a tweet. But take a look and you'll see that we're not trying to pick on this person, because at 919,000 views, almost 1 million views, you might say that we're small potatoes in comparison. Who knows? Maybe this video will get 1 million views. We don't know. But here's the other fascinating thing about this. Folks, we're here to tell you it's got 6,000 likes. That's less than 1% of the folks who read these tweets decided that it was worthy of moving their index finger. Not a good sign, but here's the copium. And what I'm going to call this, Derek, actually is, you know how in Jeopardy, if there's just a bunch of random questions, they'll put it in the potpourri category? Right. I'm going to call this potpourri. So everybody get ready for potpourri.
I love it.
Alden Diaz says, and probably a wonderfully nice person, any reporting on the Marvels... That's right. Go watch the content. Any reporting on the Marvel's box office that doesn't mention the fact that its stars were on strike and unable to promote it at all is incomplete and irresponsible at best. Promotional materials have immense value. That stuff helps build movie-going experiences now. This doesn't take into account, of course, that Barbie did not have any of their actors out and didn't hurt Barbie at all. Barbie did just fine. Oppenheimer the same. We could keep going through the list of movies that did well. But that's a real problem, apparently. But if you don't report
didn't they do they say promotional materials have immense value. I mean, didn't they have the Flirkins out there promoting this thing? I thought that
they flirt video up and down, left and right.
I mean, didn't that work? What happened, Marvel? Didn't the Flirkins get it done? The cat,
it's a Flirkin failure, Derek. It's a Flirkin failure.
I guess Flirkin lives don't matter.
I'm going to say that keeping Brie off the carpet probably did this movie better. But get ready.
Fantastic. Oh, yeah.
Because that's not all. That's the first thing that should be included. But there are others. So as we go through these, ladies and gentlemen, remember that according to Alden Diaz, and viewed almost 1 million times, if you don't include the following things, you are incomplete and irresponsible at best. Here we go. The other things that you need to include in this long list of laundry items of potpourri are: 1, the ongoing right-wing grift hate campaign against its top-billed performer. Derek, why did women not go support Brie Larson and the rest of the gang? Why did men support this film and women didn't? Men make up
Yep.
more than 60% of the audience here.
That's what I was wondering, because again, this is a film that apparently wasn't made for men. It wasn't made by men. It didn't star, at least its main stars were not men, yet men are the main, consumers of this product. And the reason that women didn't go and see this, and I've stated this many, many times, is that the primary audience for superhero related content has always been men. And they made this film for an audience that doesn't exist, because they were trying to attract young women, and young women are not interested in this type of content. I mean, they'll go with their boyfriends, they'll go with their husbands, maybe they'll take their kids to see this. But in terms of the film being for men, or excuse me, for women, women aren't interested in superhero content. I use the example all the time of a rom-com, a romantic comedy. Imagine a romantic comedy made for the Rambo audience, like somebody that is into action, adventure, hardcore action, shoot them up, beat them up, blow them up. And, oh, well, we're going to make a rom-com with that. Now, that might appeal to somebody like me, but the main consumers of rom-coms, I'm not that audience. That's your women in their mid-30s, mid-40s, that's kind of who the audience of rom-coms is. So
Derek, are you telling me that if a movie maker out there decided, I'm going to make a Polly Pocket film for grown men, you're telling me that would be a major challenge to get us to go see Peter Pocket?
I would say if you're going to do that, don't spend $250 million on that Polly Pocket.
Better stick to $2 million on that one.
Yeah, maybe $2 million might be the better budget for that. But yeah, they spent $250 million on a superhero film that men were just definitely not going to see, the main consumers of this content. And that's kind of Marvel's issue. What Grace Randolph refers to as MCU. You just have to tap into your main core demographic. And as you said, the core demographic for comic book content showed up, 65% male, but the audience they were hoping to attract, they're just not interested, and you got to make the content for the fans that are going to show up, especially when you're spending $250 million on it. You really need to know who's coming to your film, who's showing up in the theaters, because that's a lot of investment that you're putting in this particular product. Are you sure you're going to get the return on that investment, Disney and Marvel?
That's
Are you sure about that?
There's a reason.
I don't think they knew.
There's a reason that Ferrari does not advertise to, the 70-year-old grandmothers out there. It's not that there are zero grandmothers driving Ferraris, but they're not the key demographic. That's not to say that, there's no offense if you're a 75-year-old lady driving a Ferrari. We love it. It's just
absolutely.
Yeah, you're not the key demo there. But take a look at this. Here's more, Derek. This keeps going and going. It is like the Energizer Bunny of copium. The new storm of false BS surrounding its director. Now, Derek, I'm going to tell you, I pay very close attention to all of this. I'm an editor-in-chief for a website right now that covers news. I run this channel. I have all kinds of contacts. I have no idea what this is. Do you have any idea what the false BS against the director is?
Nothing.
I have no idea what they're talking
about. Nia DaCosta. I don't know what they're referring to. I think the only thing maybe they could be speaking of is the fact that she left production early to, because she had a responsibility to a different film. And so I believe maybe that's it. But there's no, false campaign. That's facts. That actually happened. So
Alden
I'm not
says,
sure what he's
Derek,
referring to there.
Alden also says the fact that it's more diverse than the first one. So if you don't mention that in anything you do covering the Marvels, you're incomplete and misleading at best. How exactly do we score that? Like, is there some sort of ESG score that gets applied, DEI score that gets applied to films so that we can figure out which ones have a higher or lower diversity score?
I guess how many boxes were checked in this film, and that's going to be a negative. I don't know what this guy's talking about.
There's more cats in the movie. Maybe that's what he's talking about. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess.
more Flarkins. Also, the fact that one of the shows it follows, again, folks, if we don't include every one of these, we are incomplete and misleading. And far be it from us to do such a thing. We are not propagandists here, so we will cover this in full. The fact that one of the shows it follows underperformed on streaming, except in person of color households, because Alden knows why this is. Because of general misogyny.
This is absolutely copium.
Hatred.
I mean, peak copium. I can't
Hatred of
believe
those
this
who
guy's
believe in
actually writing
Islam.
this and putting this out there. Wow.
People not taking teenage girls seriously and getting sent out to die against legacy Star Wars. Derek, we're talking about the Marvels, or Miss Marvel now.
Miss
Miss
Marvel.
Marvel, of course, was the lowest performing Marvel Disney Plus show, but generally I've seen it have pretty good reviews. I just think maybe, now Derek, I might be crazy here. I think that maybe superhero Marvel fans don't have a very high interest in watching a teenage girl kind of sitcom. What do you think?
It's not only that, comic book fans have not liked this character, period. This character, it keeps getting rebooted time and time and time again because they don't have a good story for this character, and nobody likes the stories that they've told. This character has, ever since this character, Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, has hit the scene, it has failed time and time again. So this is nothing new to me. I've seen Kamala Khan fail in the comic books. It failed in this. It failed on this show. It failed in its video game. When they had her headlining the Avengers, it failed there as well. This character is a failure, and this is not surprising to me whatsoever. Yeah, nobody watched the show. Yes, no one cares about this character. It's been proven, and comic books really should be looked at as the R&D, the research and development for characters, and it's been proven
this is such
that
a great point you're making. Such a great point.
It's failed. It's failed time and time again. So why are they continuing to try to push this character?
Derek, the overall failure of the comic book industry, some people might say, well, it doesn't matter. Nobody was reading them anyway. No, the failure of that industry at large means that you don't have an R&D department for Marvel anymore. You can't game test these stories to see, does this work? Does this not work before it ever gets to the small screen and the big screen? So it's a huge and devastating blow to them. Well, guess who was over the comics before being fired? Ike Perlmutter, who could not control the crazies inside the comic book industry.
100%.
Let's keep going. The fact that this is the first project taking the specific bullet of parts of the buildup were behind a paywall. It won't be the last thing to experience this for Marvel and Lucasfilm, for Disney overall, or for Hollywood in general. But so apparently, Derek, because this depended on shows on Disney Plus, that's why it failed. There's another problem with this one, though. And, of course, that is that movies are supposed to stand on their own. So you can have all kinds of backstory. Backstory's great. But if it's not a complete item, if you have to watch this other stuff, then I don't see how that's going to work. But that's been true for decades and decades and decades, as long as stories have existed.
Yeah, movies are standalone. You're supposed to be able to walk into a theater and just watch a film. You shouldn't have to do, we got to do some homework and read up on this character or watch this show or review these last 3 films in order to understand it. Some of that might be necessary, but it shouldn't be 100% necessary to enjoy a film. I should be able to walk in knowing nothing about this film and have it presented to me in a way that is appealing. And again, the problem with this film started well before this film ever hit the theaters. The problem is with the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole. But yeah, specific to this film.
Do you think Alden realized this was not going to do well? Do you think that this is maybe cognitive dissonance catching up and just a blitzkrieg of BS trying to explain it away? I don't know, but Alden says.
He has to. Again, this is what happens what I say all the time, when ideology meets reality, and the reality is starting to smack the ideology in the face. Oh, we can have the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We could just stack Marvel right up there on the top of this film, put Marvel on it. We can roll out 3 diverse female leads, and we could, for an audience that's primarily male, we can roll out this with the female villain and everything will be just fine because, it's the character or it's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's what they think is going to sell this. But even with all of that being said, it failed. It flopped. And once again, its ideology is failing. Your ideology is not aligning to reality. The reality is that the people that are going to these movies, they expect what they expect, and they're not getting it from Marvel, and so they're checking out slowly but surely. And now we've hit rock bottom. This is the worst film ever in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it's time for Marvel to maybe either course correct or do something different or stop, push, pause, and figure this thing out, because they are just starting to turn out, $270 million on this film. And this is probably not going to even reach that amount overall, worldwide, global. That's terrible, but
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
The farther we go down into these tweets, you're going to notice something. There's a dynamic here that happens. That is that as you go down through a thread in tweets, of course, less and less people care enough to keep reading.
Yeah.
And so the views go down. And yet still, but the people who continue to read often are the ones who actually agree with you. And yet still, about 1% of the people who kept reading this cared enough to click the like button, which really shows you
that dropping
that this, yes, this is rubbernecking. This is people getting to that wreck on the road and saying, good Lord, look at this. So let's continue with this spasmodic series of tweets here. Of course, it has to be the film starring a diverse trio of women, directed by a black woman, that goes out and deals with his landscape first, not Captain 4, or the Filoni Star Wars film, or Avengers, or anything else that will surely have to climb this hill. It's taking on, it's like Rosa Parks actually defeating the evil patriarchy this time. Alden Diaz says, the fact that box office numbers have largely taken a hit in general. By the way, if we don't mention this in every video we do, all of these points, according to Alden, Derek, if we attempted this, we would spend the majority of our videos doing disclaimers to make it okay.
Man,
that's just been a reality post-COVID. Outside of some instances like Barbenheimer, a ton of stuff has underperformed. Even Guardians 3 dipped from 2, but that's because Guardians 1 and 2 were amazing, and Guardians 3 was just good. It wasn't amazing. I mean, this is so simple, Alden. You're tied in knots. You don't have to be tied in knots mentally. All you have to do is actually go with reality and stop trying to force the cosmos to obey your whims. Movies that are really good, people go watch. And movies that aren't, people don't go watch.
And look, even
this is as simple as it gets.
Even Guardians 3 started out very slow in the box office, but word of mouth picked it up. And it actually
that's because, Derek, people were already mistrusting Marvel so much because the films have been bad. We're talking about the Eternals. We're talking about switching Black Panther to a female demographic. We're talking about Shang-Chi. We can keep going and going. This is not hard, people. Don't live in a world that you can't explain with your ideology, and then you have to spin like this to the point that others think you're ludicrous. This is craziness. Don't do it.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Alden, man. I think he's so far down that rabbit hole that he can't find his way out, and so now
we are going to reach down. And you know what? I will say this. Alden is welcome to come on this channel. We will pull Alden to the light, folks. We will do it right here.
Yeah, we need
the fact that and this is another one. You have to, folks, we have to include this in every video. The fact that fans of this particular world who complain nonstop about the films being too interconnected for phases 1 through 3 are now complaining that they aren't building to a connected goal nearly enough. Audience training is once again a key factor. So this not getting the watch this next boost from something like Infinity War now hurts it a lot more in terms of perceived importance. Good Lord, I'm gonna have to hire a speed reader. I'm gonna have to do one of those things like at the end of the commercial where you watch the medical commercial at the end.
Every excuse he can come up with. I mean, sheesh. There's so many reasons that this thing failed that he's not talking about. He only wants to discuss the things that he wants to discuss, and to me, these are nothings. Okay, these are nothing burgers. The real reason that this thing failed is because the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been making bad content for the last couple of years, especially in phases 4 and 5. That's it. And people have checked out. He's not bringing up anywhere does he bring up Marvel. He doesn't say, well, Marvel messed up. Marvel made a mistake. He's putting it all back on perceived what fans are, considering good and bad content. Like, hey, it's about the studio making the film. That's always the number one reason why a film fails. They didn't reach their intended audience. They didn't make sense or the film doesn't make sense to the audience that did come to watch it. Again, you're talking about 65% men went to see this, and yet here we are. The men are the ones that actually supported this film to the fullest. At least, the 65% says that.
Hey, we pulled our, the YouTube reviewers. We did our best.
Yeah, we did our best.
We told the truth about it afterwards, but we were there. We had our popcorn.
And the target audience failed. The target audience failed them, and their target audience were, teenage girls, I guess, or
Alden needs to be screaming at liberal women who just
yes,
did not do what he wanted.
Why didn't
Scream
you
at
show
them.
up to watch this, liberal ladies? What happened?
That's right.
Yeah, and instead he's talking about all the other, right-wing grifters. Unbelievable, man.
Let's finish this off here. We'll finish the last 3 tweets. Here's what they say. The lack of clarity for the average casual fan about where to watch. Seen lots of talk about people thinking it's a Disney Plus series. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure people after all of this marketing were so confused about that. I could go on. The whole conversation is mostly stupid. In other words, I'm tired of this game. I'm not winning. I'll go home. And it further plays into the "what have you done for me lately" attitude from internet fans about this franchise. In other words, have you made good stuff lately? Okay, well, I'm more skeptical. It'll be dead then. Back then dead, then back, depending on what people like and what narrative they want. Almost as if content matters. This will be Marvel's Solo, a Star Wars story, inasmuch as people will harp on the box office.
Oh, wow.
Forever.
So he's saying this is a comparison to Solo.
And
well, again, we're talking about, we can compare Solo, a Star Wars story, to this in as far as the company that made Solo didn't understand what the fans wanted, the exact same way that the company that made this film didn't understand what the fans were looking for, what the fans wanted, and people have checked out and people are done. And again, put it back on the studio. And, if he wants to say, well, it didn't have the promotional, the Marvel Cinematic Universe used to sell itself. This film, I think they've had 10 $1 billion films. I mean, more than any other franchise that you can think of. And a lot of films that came close to the $1 billion mark. So putting Marvel Studios on top of a film is more than enough promotion for that film. You don't have to go out and sell it. I'm not sure how many people are going out and watching, the Late Late Show and, oh, Brie Larson showed up on the Late Late Show. I guess I got to go and watch the Marvels now. I mean, I don't pay attention to that stuff. That's not the reason why I go and see movies, but I can't call it for other people. If other people would use that as the way that they get their films, fine. That's
Derek,
fine.
I thought this was an anthem film. I thought this was a movement film. I thought this was the chance for women to come together and prove
that's what it was. That's what
they have been held back by the patriarchy, that this, the system was unfair. And finally, they had a female superhero film. Sorry, Wonder Woman. Finally, they had a female superhero film and they would go and support it in mass. It turns out they like Barbie better. That's just all they like. They'll come out for Taylor Swift, but they won't come out for Brie. And it doesn't matter if you put Brie on the carpet or not. They like Iman Vellani, but she's no Barbie. She's no Margot Robbie. And that's where we are today. Derek, the copium, the coperie is real. The freak out is fun to watch. The meltdown is moving. But we have to be moving along, and that means I need everyone to know what's going on in your channel. So share with us, sir. What do you got going over on the DA?
Well, you guys know I still do a lot of reviews and talking about Hollywood in general. I actually have a video that I'm working on right now, the comparison between Barbie and this film, because I want to, really do a deep dive into why did Barbie work and why did this film, The Marvels, not work. So yeah, we'll be doing a little bit of a deep dive in that. So look for that video coming up on my channel soon. Derek Anderson, the DA, definitely come and check me out, guys. And yeah, once again, Pro, thanks for bringing me on. I appreciate every single time.
Absolutely. And folks, Derek is a rising star on YouTube. You want to be able to say that you were one of those early subscribers. So get over there, hop into the content. You are going to love it. And folks, the thing that I would like for all of us to take away from this today is sometimes reality is tough to swallow. There are things in this world that we don't like. But if we sit around in our safe space inside our bubble and try to pretend that we have all the answers for why everybody else is right and we're wrong, oh wait, I mean vice versa, then what happens is, of course, that we create this sort of alternate universe that we exist in and everyone else just thinks that you're crazy. So let's all cut that out. Let's live according to reality. Let's see it as it is. Let's analyze it. Let's follow where the facts lead. And then will be standing on a much firmer foundation. We are not picking on anybody here, folks. We only pulled up a Twitter thread that had 1 million views already. Plenty of spotlight on that one before we ever touched it. And it is going right in line, of course, with what we saw out of The Hollywood Reporter and what we are seeing out of Disney. As it turns out, 45 million is what their competitors say are the actual numbers for this past domestic weekend. It is not looking good for the MCU. And if they follow along with Alden's desires, well, I have a feeling they're going to have even less attendance in those theaters. And frankly, that's going to make us all tired. We're ready for Marvel to get back on the right track, along with the rest of the studios out there. Folks, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. Do you think we got this one right? Do you think we went wrong? What do you think will be the official copium strategy? What will be the narrative that comes out of Holly Weird? How will they prove to all of you that they are right, that you are wrong, that you don't understand what good media is? How will they continue to force feed you that which you do not wish to eat? We'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget, folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Now, My Doll has partnered with The Marvels to bring you relief like never before.
Thanks to My Doll, I can enjoy my life without being held back. I can conquer anything just like Miss Marvel.
My Doll, partnering with The Marvels for powerful relief. Get back to being you. Be empowered.
Oh, yeah, let me tell you, this stuff, it really does work.
Marvel Studios' The Marvels, probably on November 10th, in theaters only for give or take 45 days. And ask your doctor if My Doll is right for you.
Not related.